Hey everyone, today I'm going to fire my sheep effigy in my backyard and I'll show you how I'll do it. The first I'm going to do, I was going to take it upstairs and put it in my oven, and then I'm going to go in the backyard and get my primary fire going. But I'll show you the steps that I'm going to go through today. Hopefully we'll make this thing a successful firing. So let's get started. Here is my backyard kiln. It is just a bunch of bricks sitting on top of, I guess you'd call it a fire ring or a barbecue thing. And then on the inside, a couple things. One, I have flattened it out on the bottom. I use sand and bricks so I get a nice flat surface because the fire ring is concave. It's also indented down here, and I will put charcoal down there for my pre-fire, and it helps with the main fire as well. And then I'll put a grate over the top of that. I'll show you how that works. One thing that I've tried to do is create some ventilation. And so you can see here, I have a pretty big hole on the side of it. There's also another hole on the other side. Probably can't see that as well, and it's smaller, but the idea is to get more ventilation. I like to use this extra large lump charcoal. A couple of different reasons. One, the pieces are pretty good size. I think that gives better space and ventilation, access to oxygen, get a little bit hotter fire. I like that. Downside of lump charcoal, it tends to be more expensive, but I just think I get a better result, hotter fire. So down here is where I have the charcoal set up for my pre-firing. So I'll put some lighter fluid on that and get rolling. Now this is the way that I kind of cheat a little bit, I suppose, on authenticity, but it's still a fire. The other thing that I like about charcoal is it doesn't ramp up in heat so fast, and I think you end up with less thermal shock as a result. So this will get burning now for about a half hour or so, and then I'll bring the pot out from the oven and get this whole business going. Okay, I have the fire going down below. I've added some additional charcoal because I want as much heat from the bottom as I can. And then I add these fire grates. These are just used from barbecue grills. I get them at a dump yard. Then put some sherds down on top of those, and that's what my pot will sit on. And then over the top of the pot, I'm putting this bucket. The purpose of the bucket is to protect the pot. The charcoal will go all the way around. In this case, I want the pot to come out clean, and I could use pottery sherds. They would work well. The thing is, I probably would get some fire clouds with those, and in this case, I would like to avoid that. The downside, the bucket is actually bigger than I really need, and so it's going to take more charcoal to cover everything up. But in this case, I think it is worth it. So next step is to go inside, get my pot, bring it out, and get this thing going. Man, I goofed up with my videoing a little bit, but so the pot is down on the grates. I put the bucket over the top of it. Now I'm adding some charcoal on. And I think what I'm going to do before I add the more charcoal in, I'm going to get this started. It'll probably start from down below. I'm going to add a little bit of lighter right now, though, and get it started on the lower side. Then I'll fill it up with charcoal. All right, the charcoal is in. I had to use two 16-pound bags of charcoal to fill this up. It takes a lot, so at $1 a pound, it's kind of an expensive firing for one pot, but in this case, I think it is worth it. I can hear it start to burn down below, and within an hour, this will really be taking off. And in a recent video, I saw Andy Ward use sherds on top of his fire to kind of hold some of the heat in, and never done that before, but it seems like it makes good sense. So I'll give that a try. In fact, what I think I'm going to attempt to do is stack these up in such a way as to kind of make a bit of a flue. Any way to get that air to kind of channel up and create more of a draft, I think would be kind of a good thing to do. It looks to me like the sherds have created a pretty decent draft. I like the way that's working. Well, the fire has been going about an hour and it has reached its maximum temperature. It's still quite hot. I wasn't able to measure it because of the way the bucket is and the sherds and so on, but it was a good hot fire. It's been 3 hours or so since the fire started. Some of the stuff is still around 500 degrees centigrade, but I don't think it's necessary to keep these sherds in here anymore. I don't think they're making any difference, good or bad. So I think I'm going to take them out. It'll kind of help everything cool off a little bit. It's been about 10 hours since this all started. It's still relatively warm, but I think we can get things taken out. It's the moment of truth. Always a little bit of trepidation with these things, but obviously excitement as well. So let's lift off the bucket and see what we get. It's stuck a little bit. Here we go. Still pretty hot, but I think I'll lift it up and see what it looks like here. Here we go. Let's see. It's kind of almost too hot to handle. He rings good. Let's see what we have here. The whites are pretty decent. The blacks are okay. But not a bad looking little effigy guy. Well, I'm happy with the sheep effigy. It turned out good. It seems to ring fine. The whites are really nice and white. The blacks are not bad, pretty good. And there aren't a bunch of fire clouds on it. So there's a couple of things that I did today that I think really make a difference. One is if you really cover it up well. In this case, I used a bucket. You could use sherds as well. But with sherds, you're probably going to get some fire clouds. With this, it was a real clean firing, and I'm happy with that. One of the things I've never done before, but I think really made a positive difference, was layering the sherds so that it funneled all the air up towards the center of the kiln. I think it created some more heat, better firing. I saw temps over 800 Celsius. How hot it got inside of the bucket, I guess I really don't know, but clearly enough to fire the pot. So I'm happy with it. And I'm also very happy to be part of Andy Ward's Primitive Potters Club. This is one of our assignments, and it was a fun one to do. So good times are had by all, I guess. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate those comments, the thumbs up, the subscriptions. I know everybody asks for that stuff, and the reason they do is that it helps with the algorithms and it gets you kind of higher up in the scale in the YouTube world. But in any case, I'm just glad that you're here. And until next time, this is Wes, wishing you health, happiness, peace, and love. Take care. Bye-bye.